And when patients kind of have two that they like, my optician will say, oh my gosh, Dr. Stewart has and they'll say, how many do you have? I said, do you want to see them? Do you want to see my personal collection? And I have a case in here with all of them. And I show them, I'll put on, two different looks and say, I look like a completely different person, right? And they're going, yes. I said, that's the benefit of eyewear. You don't have to be stuck with the same look for 365 days. I don't have the same look for 365 minutes, right? I've changed my glasses 4 times. I put in contacts for this, and then I'll pop them back out and then see who my 1 o'clock is and put the appropriate glasses on there. So it's just being
this is
thoughtful.
what I was wearing. This is what I was wearing before our podcast. Hello and welcome to the Crystal Podcast on iCode Media. Today I had a great conversation with Dr. Jennifer Stewart. She has inspired me I in a number of ways from our optical standpoint, but also I just love her passion surrounding the things that she does. And I love talking to people who have a real passion and a purpose for the things they do. So please enjoy our conversation. As always, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, write a review, share it with your friends, and support those who support us. The most common questions I get include, what ophthalmological codes or evaluation and management codes should I use? What ICD-10 codes do I need to bill with this CPT code? What CPT codes can be billed together and what can't? And my favorite, how do I manage a patient who has diabetes who comes in for a quote-unquote routine eye exam? These questions really highlight the confusion and uncertainty that serves as a daunting hurdle for providers, makes it more challenging for them to care for their patients and provide those patients with the best opportunity for a lifetime of ocular health and clear vision. That's why we built iCode Education for this specific purpose. Our mission is to provide optometrists with resources to help you understand disease states, revenue cycles, and billing and coding so that you can put that on autopilot and truly care for your patients. Check out iCodeEducation.com. That's EYECODE education.com. We've developed a premier billing and coding bundle that includes all of our billing and coding resources in one place. We also have a 10% discount code just for listeners of this podcast. Enter the coupon code EYECODEMEDIA22 at checkout. We'd love to work with you. Check out iCodeEducation.com. Hello, dedicated optometrists. Are you looking for a way to support your patient's vision and overall eye health? Let me introduce you to Vision Edge Pro, a visual performance supplement that stands out in our profession. Vision Edge Pro contains a balanced blend of mesozeaxanthine, lutein, and zeaxanthine in a 10-10-2 ratio. This combination has been scientifically shown to increase macular pigment density, which enhances visual performance, including contrast sensitivity and vision in glare situations. Additionally, Vision Edge Pro provides 300 milligrams of DHA and EPA, fulfilling the daily requirements for omega-3s as recognized by the leading health organizations. This ensures your patients receive the essential nutrients their eyes need for optimal health. Whether it's for everyday screen use, night driving, or enjoying the outdoors, Vision Edge Pro supports your patients in seeing their best. Recommend Vision Edge Pro for your patients today and help them achieve clearer, healthier vision. Contact your local MacuHealth representative for more details. Vision Edge Pro, because your patients deserve the best in eye health. Go to MacuHealth.com and use the coupon code PODCAST2024 at checkout for special discounts. Well, so the last time we talked, you were just about ready to open your new practice, I think. So
I was
here we
trying to
are about a
remember
year
if
later.
I was open or not. I couldn't remember if...
Yeah, you might have been.
Or like barely open.
Yeah. Well, tell me about how the first year's gone then.
It's amazing. So it'll be a year in February. So we're pretty close. So this is our 10th month, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 10. We're just about to finish our month 10. So it's awesome.
Yeah. What has can you talk about a little bit about like what kind of goals, from a cold start or sort of even like a warm start? What kind of goals did you set and how did you track those goals for like the first quarter that you were in business, the second quarter, because it's always different. Yeah. Tell me about that.
So I had no idea what to expect coming from, being in a large practice and buying that as an established practice and then growing that. So I had no idea what to expect. So I had the goals that we had set from our business plan as kind of a roadmap of, this is what we think we'll do. I was curious to see how it would go. Being a, yes, cold/very warm start and having a lot of patients in the area and being here for 15 years, I was curious what we would do. And, my goal is to see as few patients as possible and generate as much revenue as possible in those few patients and figure out how to do that and I never want to see a lot of patients. I don't want to have, I had a busy practice. I had a 4-doctor practice. I'm good on that. Don't need to do that again. So I want to really maximize our per patient revenue. And that's mostly that's probably the number one metric that I'm tracking.
So then, like in your mind, just so that I can kind of align with what your idea of a busy practice is, do you have a number in your mind of how many patients you want to see a day or an hour or?
I see 1 an hour and I'm happy. So I would love to stay there. I see between 4 and 7 patients a day. Today I have 7 and I'm booked out all next week with 7. I'll probably creep that up to 10, but that would probably be where I want to be maximized at. So no more than, I've seen, I could do 2 an hour. I don't know that I want to or need to. So I love my schedule right now. And if I could keep this up, I'd be very happy.
Do you find that, so like in that hour time period, do you find, like, tell me about what that flow looks like from a staff perspective and then from a Dr. Stewart perspective? Like, what are you doing during that hour of time?
So I don't always spend an hour with the patients because some of my friends are like, oh my gosh, do you sit there for an hour? No, I read the room. So some patients want to be in and out. Like we just had somebody call to get in this afternoon and I was able to squeeze him and he said, how quickly can I be out of here? So I know I'm not going to sit there and, spend an hour with him. He really just wants to be in and out. But I spent an hour with one of my patients this morning who had never had an eye exam. So from a staffing perspective, I have 2 staff right now, looking to hire a 3rd. I have my office manager who does everything, and right now she's pre-testing patients for me, although I usually jump in and pre-test if I need to. And then I have an optician. So the optical is super busy, so we're looking to hire a 2nd optician. So from a patient flow standpoint, we don't have a front desk, so I don't have a front desk person. The patients are greeted as soon as they walk in by my optician or my office manager, brought back immediately, started, pre-testing is done, and then either my office manager or I does their history, and then we do the exam, and then they go out to the optical, and that's really where the bulk of the time is. So my goal is not to spend an hour with the patient, but to be as thorough as possible and still make sure there's enough time for them to spend the optical.
I love the idea of taking the patient immediately when they walk in, and I also love the idea of many people being able to do that in the office. That's something that we haven't mastered in my practice yet. It's really a goal that we had a couple years ago, and honestly, we have not been able to achieve it. And I think part of it is because the complexities of kind of diving deep into a lot of different chronic conditions in our practice prohibit us from like basically having the same person with the patient the whole way along. Like my vision would be, in a perfect world, every single person could do every single thing in the practice. And so, even if you were even if I were seeing twice, like seeing 20 patients a day, which by the way, I don't want to see 20 patients a day. I will on a busy day, but for me, my perfect day would be about 16 patients. So it's not like, when we're talking about how many, what a busy day looks like, you and I are probably more closely aligned than some people might think. I don't want to see 40 patients a day, and I don't want to see 30 patients a day. So I think I bring that up to say that, like, where we've struggled is, there's so much nuance in a lot of the high level testing that can be done in a comprehensive practice that and also like the nuances of selling glasses and taking managed vision care or taking medical care or taking medical insurance, like that's complicated. And so we've done some things to try to simplify that, but I love the idea of keeping those patients with a very similar person the whole time. Does that always work out? I mean, I know you said you have an optician, but would the goal for you then be to have an optician actually bring that patient back and travel with them? Because in that case, each optician, if you've got 2, essentially has 5 patients a day that they have to manage.
So we do both. So it depends on the flow. And I also am the third optician. I am equally out there helping people pick out glasses, which patients actually really like, and I love, love that part. So each one of us can do everything in the office. I do a little less on the optical side and the pre-test side, but we will do both. I think it's a little easier for me because I started that way with no front desk. And I think about my old practice, if I were to walk in there and say, we're going to eliminate the front desk today, that's just a big hurdle. It's not insurmountable, but definitely more work. But the benefit of cold starting has been I get to do things over and start fresh on the way I want to do them. And it was a little bit challenging for me. It was my husband's idea. We were developing and designing a front desk, and he said, do we actually need this? I go, well, of course you need a front desk. It's a silly question. He said, but why? We only take 2 managed vision care plans. We don't take medical insurance. We're out of network for everything else. So people don't have cards. We had not planned to have phones up front anyway. We do everything by weave. So all the phones live in the back of the office, and we don't have paperwork. So he said, what exactly does a front desk do? Just sit there and smile and check somebody in. And it made me very uncomfortable, but it made me think. So we decided to try it, and we built a backup plan. We wired everything in that front area for a front desk. So there's wiring in the ceiling in case I wanted to put a pendant light. All of the wiring is in the wall for a desk with a computer. So my contractor said, let's just plan for worst case that it doesn't work. It's easier to do that now while we've got open walls. So we had it wired, but a year in, patients actually love it. They remark that they love just being brought right back and not having to check in and the awkwardness of, waiting while somebody's on the phone. But it took, we had staff training about it. It was easier here for sure because we started that way. But all of us greet patients. We have a doorbell, so it rings in the back and in the lab, so we know as soon as somebody walks in. And, it's kind of a race for everyone to get up there and greet the patient.
I love the idea of eliminating a front desk. And for me, it's like the perfect time to consider. So I just got my bid back for my tenant improvement. So I'm building a new building. We talked about that last year. And it's actually the building is structurally coming together. And so I just got from the builder for my specific space within that building back some of the bids for it. And as I'm thinking about this, now would be the time to do exactly as you've done, is like, if I don't want a front desk, maybe we just leave it off. And I bet it would save a lot of money, actually.
I mean, that was, my husband appeals to my frugal nature as we were designing the front desk. There's a cost to design a custom desk and all and the person that goes with it.
Not just design it, but to build it.
And we were in that process. And we actually had our designer was working with a team, and we were like, let's just hold off on that. So it lowered my business loan quite a bit, and we haven't blinked. There's not been one moment where I thought, oh, I wish I had a front desk. We have a seating area. So if somebody walks in and we're busy, we just say, if it's a patient who's here early for an exam, we just say, have a seat, or we're happy to help you in the optical. But we get a lot of walk-ins for glasses too. So our space is all windows, and we're on a retail street. So I didn't want anyone to feel that we were just a doctor's office, that they couldn't walk in and look at glasses. So that felt better. And people say that, they say, oh, it's just like nice and open in here and very welcoming. And that's exactly what we were going for. I didn't want people to feel they had to make an appointment or that they couldn't just come in and look at glasses, because by far our revenue has been greatly driven by walk-ins, which it's all by design, but it's nice to see it actually work.
Then, so I'm trying to work through the logistics of that. The people that right now sit at that front desk, what do they do?
I don't know.
Like, in your mind, what do they do? Like,
I mean, the front desk could become the back office, so that could become, like, we have a back office.
Yeah, but I don't want people sitting and hiding out in the back office. No. That concerns me too.
That is hard. So we have a back office, but no one's ever sitting.
That hide out. Yeah.
We have a small enough space that you can't hide. So I think, and that becomes a great way that I think, as we're all struggling with staffing and we're all struggling with finding good people, as people leave, there's always this panic and quickness to hire and to replace very quickly, and that might allow people to think about the duties that their staff has and not automatically replace somebody because that position was available. It takes time, but that could be a way to, if somebody were to leave, then that position doesn't get filled, and you start to slowly transition people into different roles.
What question should I be asking? So I really want to do this. I really want to get rid of this desk. What question should I be thinking about because I immediately go to, like, there's a person that sits there all the time, and she's great. And she's very organized, and she makes sure that everybody has the things that they need when they come in. But to your point, that could be done in some back office place, and it could be done like by somebody else. But again, like, she makes sure it's all done when the patient comes in. So what would I have to do to make sure she could do that, but then also say, hey, Jennifer, welcome to the practice today. So I'm so glad to see you. Hey, let's get you on back, because she knows where you need to go. Hey, I know that you're picking up your glasses today, or I know that you got an appointment with Dr. Wolfe. Let's head on back. And then there's maybe another place that they go to start.
She could, you could make her the concierge, and she might be in the back. Like, we have a back where my office manager sits. We have a big TV with, it's like, we call it our kind of our home base, and we have cameras, so we can see where, if people walk in. We don't have a big space, so we can hear, but she sits back there, and she's the one manning leave and texting and making sure all the patients are confirmed. And although I help too, pulling insurance, making sure that's all verified. But then when a patient walks in, she hops up front and is able to greet them. So she might be the person that does all of that. And she might say, when there's nobody walking in, she's in the back and she's got a space, but somebody walks in and she's the concierge, and she just directs. And that was my vision, was that I didn't need somebody to direct people where to go. Anyone can direct. And it might not be that they're seen immediately. It might be that they're 10 minutes early, but they're greeted and they're seated. And it could be anyone that does that. It doesn't have to be, a front desk person. So it's a hard shift. I think for me, it was just the way we started, and it took a little time, because my office manager came from my former office. She was with me for 15 years, and we had a huge front desk with 4 people. So to go from that to 0 was, we talked through a lot. So we spent a lot of time before we opened talking through all the scenarios, like, what if this happens, and how do we do this? And if 3 people walk in at the same time, what do we do? And so I think a lot of it, you could even brainstorm with your team and say, this is something I'm thinking about. Let's think through all the scenarios and how do we work that out? And when do patients do things? Do we need them to fill out paperwork when they come in? And if 80% of them fill it out ahead of time, that eliminates a lot of that problem. Or do we actually need paperwork? Like, we have nothing. We don't send anything. We don't send anything to the patient for them to fill out. When they make an appointment, we collect all their demographics, whether they make the appointment themselves online, or they make the appointment on the phone, or they walk in, we're collecting that. So then to hand them a form, then to collect their insurance, their information we have already, we look ahead of time to see if we're in network for the vision plans they have, and we text them before they come in. And then we do all the history in the exam room. It takes, 1 to 2 minutes. So it becomes kind of thinking, we've always done things the same way because that's how we've always done them, but is that the most efficient way? And are we creating more work to fill the people we have, or are there ways to make that smoother and more efficient and then start to eliminate? So that's why it works for us, is that there's nothing that needs to be collected.
Yeah. I think, we're on the path of that. I think part of me wants to actually, like, bring them into the office for the very first time and not prepare them that there's not going to be a front desk, just to see the reaction. That's not a good, that wouldn't be nice, and it wouldn't be good business practice, but you almost kind of, cause you almost wonder if it's, and then from the doctor's perspective, like, is that a safe zone for them, right? We've gotten complacent in, like, hey, I'm back here doing something, so this is it. Where like for me, we're gonna, we'll have an expanded kind of doctor's office for me and the associate doctors in there. But like, do I hide out back there? Do I hide out there when it would be better for me to be maneuvering around the space, just constantly present even if I'm not with a patient. I don't know. I mean, I look at, like, I try to be productive outside of my patient care.
Yes.
And so, but
I do both. You know, I mean, I have, like, right now we're doing this, but I can hear them, and we do everything by laptop. So we don't have desktops at all. I have desktops in the consult rooms, but each one of us has a laptop. So we're truly mobile. So my manager will bring her laptop up front. If my optician's at lunch, she's like, I'll just work up front so that if somebody walks by, it just doesn't look empty. So everyone has a laptop, and I go up there sometimes. I'll say today it's raining and gross out, so I'm going to hide back here. But I will grab my laptop and go sit up front too, and just for a change of scenery. And I like to be visible, and I like to hear what's going on. And so I think that's been a positive from my staff, was that they have this flexibility of working wherever in the office, and they're not tied to a desk, and they're not tied to a space. My optician will work in the lab, or she'll bring her laptop out to the optical. So that's been really nice, because they can be anywhere and I can be anywhere. So I'll go sit up front too. The downside of that is I can't hide when reps come in. So I love my reps, but sometimes I need, appointments are good. So if I'm up front sometimes, or a patient will see me and say, oh, while you're up here, can you... So I won't sit up there long, but it's sometimes nice, because I love seeing people when they pick up their glasses, and we miss that. A lot of times we don't see that part of that experience. So I love being up there to say, oh my gosh, let me see. I remember when we picked those out. I can't wait to see how they look. And so I help on that aspect too. And I couldn't do that if I was sitting back here all the time.
Cooper Vision and the AOA have joined forces in a groundbreaking initiative to transform how optometrists treat children with myopia. The Myopia Collective aims to unite our profession and its allies to challenge the status quo and elevate the standard of care for children with myopia. Everyone is invited to become a member of the collective. By joining, you pledge to act in slowing childhood myopia progression. Membership includes regular updates and information about the collective's efforts, access to educational opportunities and resources, and insights from the ambassador optometrists who advocate for community policy and changes supporting the collective's mission. Click the link in the show notes to join the collective today. One of the challenging things with patients is that when they invest in a really high quality pair of glasses and customized lenses, occasionally it can be difficult to keep those lenses clean, scratch-free, and smudge-free. Now, we have the ability with Crizal Sapphire HR lenses to offer our patients a best-in-class anti-reflective coating that is also resistant to scratches, smudges, and deposits. This means that patients spend more time enjoying clear and comfortable vision and less time caring for their lenses. So remember that you can provide patients with the best in quality, best in class, transparency, clarity, durability, and UV protection in a single Crizal coating. If you want to learn more about Crizal Sapphire HR, contact your Essilor account executive or visit essilorpro.com/Crizal. Yeah, and I've often thought, I don't have as much passion for the optical as you do, but I've thought, like, I could do this if I really wanted to do it. I could do it, and we've built systems in place so I don't really have to, like, plug in the numbers. We've got virtual assistants that will do all of that stuff for, like, taking, this is the patient's benefits or not benefits, and this is what we've recommended. And all I'm doing then is like, hey, this is something that we're thinking about with your glasses, and all we have to do then is put in that information for the cost of the glasses. Everything's already calculated, and then the virtual assistant can submit everything. So, that's pretty flexible for us. But yeah, I mean, I even just think about, like, I've been thinking about our optical as well. I think we need to do a field trip with my optical team to maybe your office, but even I've mentioned this. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, like the men's clothing store that I go to. I walk in there, and, like, those people know. I mean, it is selling, but it's selling in a way that, like, they identify what I'm gravitating towards. So, if I like to touch stuff, so, like, I'll touch a shirt, like, oh, is that a shirt that I would like the feel for? And then immediately they get it, and they're like, oh, you should see this and try this on. And half the time, like, let's say half the time the stuff they suggest, I don't even get, maybe even more than half the time. But, like, will I always get one more thing than I had come in to purchase? Yeah, almost always. And so, like, if I were out there I would probably do the same thing. Like you just watch people, like they sort of pause on something or look at something, or, hey, did you see these new frames? They're amazing. Like this is not an advertisement, by the way, Jennifer, but have you put on a pair of Meta glasses? Have you put on a pair?
I haven't.
So like so you've got kids, and one of the things that I love to be able to do for me, like I don't wear my Meta glasses everywhere, but for me, I love to listen to music, and I generally like to listen to podcasts, although I'm a little bit on a departure from sort of like the customary podcasts I would listen to for some other reasons, but I won't go into them here. But like, I want to go to my kids' games, but if I've got AirPods in, then no other parents are going to come talk to me, and I kind of look like a jerk. But if I have those glasses on, I can listen to music, or I can listen to a podcast. And if somebody comes over and says, "Hey, Chris, what do you think? What's going on?" And I don't have to do anything else. I could just sort of like pause it. They don't even know, or I don't, and they have
Right.
the music's still going on, but I'm having a conversation. Like for me, that's amazing. And then imagine, like, again, this is down the road, but imagine like you have this whole. I'm going to get old at some point. It's going to be harder for me to recognize people's like names or remember their names. And like, imagine you get like a heads up display that says like, this is Jennifer Stewart and she likes long walks off of short piers, and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so like, but like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so like right now, I'm not out there doing that, but I imagine that any one of the brands that you loved, and you do this, right?
Yeah, that's what I do.
You loved, and you're out there and you're like, hey, have you checked this out? Like this frame designer designs these frames from their bedroom in this little community, and they like, how could a patient be like, oh, I'm not putting that on?
Yeah. People love it. And so we've kind of developed a way when people come in, we don't want to bombard them. We've all been in stores where we're like, whoa, give me some space. So we just welcome people and give them the opportunity. We're happy to let you look for a little bit. If you need help, we're here. And we just kind of watch and give them a little space and time. And if they're lingering over something, we'll go over, myself included, and say, this line is this. So my goal is storytelling. And every brand out there, we might have shared this when we first did our first podcast, but I had the frame reps come in and do a training with each of with my staff, each brand, and most of them honestly had never been asked to do that by any of their accounts, which is such a shame in my book. Some of them were like, I don't know what you're asking me to do. I was like, just come in and tell me about your product. I don't want to look at frames. We already have them. But tell us about your company. Tell us about the process of design. Tell us about the materials. And some of them are really good at it and are used to being asked. And there were a couple that said to me, I've never been asked to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is such a shame and such a missed opportunity, because all we do is look at them and go, okay, what's the minimum I have to buy? What's my return rate? But using them because they know this is what they're taught and they want to share that information. And I say to them, we're both in the business to sell frames, both of us. The more frames I sell, the better you're going to do. So let's work together to make sure that we know the most about your frame so that we can talk about it. So everyone in the office, myself included, is tasked with knowing 3 quick facts about each brand so we can rattle them off. This line is made here, they use this type of acetate, and they're known for this. This, I don't stand up there and give each patient a 15-minute spiel about the company and the history, but we give a little bit, and patients respond so well to that because they've never had that. They're just given 10 pairs of glasses and say, which one do you like? And they're like, what's the least expensive one, right? When we don't give them any other information, the only thing they know to go on, and we know this with contact lenses, the only thing they know to do is ask the cost. But if you've given them an experience and a tie and kind of an emotional connection to these frames, it's incredible what you can do. And we've done it with all the lines we have. I have 2 of my own lines, so I've created 2 of my own designs and work with 2 different opticians to hand make both lines. They're all named after local landmarks. So people, that's, if you can have a frame that has your street on there and it was designed by your own optometrist, that's a story that has paid dividends in bringing people in. They're all customizable. We put their initials on the temple, whatever they want. So it's just being a little bit different. And I like being out there and doing it too. I wear today I've worn 4 different pairs of glasses because I mean, I take it a step further than most do. I look at my patient schedule. I look at who's coming, and whatever I think,
Interesting.
based on their age or their, gender, or what I think, we kind of have a sense of what people are buying. I'll put on a frame that I think will spark their interest or be something they like so that they can see it on me.
So first thing, yesterday I asked ChatGPT, I said, I want my opticians to be, so we used to do that. What you're talking about, we used to do it. We've just gotten away. We've gotten bad habits.
We all get
in
bad
our
habits.
Optical. And so I asked ChatGPT, I want my opticians to become an expert in one frame line in the office, each optician. What types of information should I have them research? And then it says, empowering your opticians to become experts in a specific frame line is a great way to enhance their confidence and ability to serve patients. Here's the information. Number 1, brand background and philosophy. 3 bullet points underneath there about what they should be looking for. Material and construction, design features, target audience, product range. There's 5 others below that. And so what I did, hopefully, and it will resonate, because we had some meetings about just kind of recently, just some things about the practice and what we're doing and where we're going. And so I assigned them that task to say, pick out one frame line that you like and answer these 5 questions considering these bullet points. And by the way, tomorrow is not very busy because I'm not in the office. The next day is not very busy because I'm not in the office. And we're going to talk about this at our next office meeting next Wednesday. And so I'm hoping, now I'm kind of seeing, it's a little bit of a test because I want to see, do they actually take it seriously, Because so I think that's part of it. That was the first point I would make. So kudos to you for doing that. And I would say that probably our conversation last year was a little bit of responsible for me thinking about that. I know it was a long time ago, but you know how things get to in your mind. But the other thing I was going to bring up was, you made a point of telling the story, changing your glasses. Oh yeah. Did you ever go to the Vision Institute? When you were in school, did you ever go? Mm-hmm. Do you remember the guy? So I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Walt West.
Walt.
I mean, Walt was there.
Yeah.
But there was another guy there that was like, he would peg patients. He actually, I think he worked in Walt's office or something, and he would sit there and he would go through the day and he would like type. He would figure out what type that patient was, like what kind of experience did they want to have. Is that where you got that, or
I don't know.
Is this something that's more recent?
I think it's just always, I've always been big in the exam room about mirroring the patient and mirroring the way that they respond and how they, some people want to be in and out, some people want all the attention, and mirroring. And I taught my team that too, everyone doesn't want the same experience. So just being very cognizant of how that is and how people want to spend their time. But yes, taking it a step further, and we've been, we're very lucky that we have the time and the opportunity to really analyze the optical and know, we all know what our top selling frames are of each brand, and I'm getting better of even knowing their names. My optician can rattle them off. But we're starting to see patterns emerge, and for anyone who's been in practice long enough, even with all that data, you can start to think about it. We just get so busy, we don't have the time to think about it that way. And again, we don't think, we're going in the exam room, we're thinking, cup to disc ratio, pressure, we're thinking family history of glaucoma and multifocal contacts and dry eye, and we're thinking all on the clinical side. And not many of us are thinking, looking at, I'm a 43-year-old woman, and what type of frame do I typically like? Well, we know what most of them are buying, and I tend to wear that. So yes, I had 2 women this morning who were in their 40s, and I put on a very specific frame for both of them. One of them bought it. Do you feature that?
Do you actually put a thing that says Dr. Stewart is wearing this? That would be pretty cool, actually.
They know. Jess will tell them, and they know. I'll come out and I'll say, oh my gosh, you have great taste. That's the frame I was wearing. I have a case of glasses back here, and we will... What we're also big on is teaching them to build an eyewear wardrobe, and not to say, you just wear one pair. And when patients kind of have 2 that they like, my optician will say, oh my gosh, Dr. Stewart has met, and they'll say, how many do you have? I said, do you want to see them? Do you want to see my personal collection? And I have a case in here with all of them. And I show them, I'll put on, 2 different looks and say, I look like a completely different person, right? And they're going, yes. I said, that's the benefit of eyewear. You don't have to be stuck with the same look for 365 days. I don't have the same look for 365 minutes, right? I've changed my glasses 4 times. I put in contacts for this, and then I'll pop them back out and then see who my 1 o'clock is and put the appropriate glasses on there. So it's just being
this is
thoughtful.
what I was wearing. This is what I was wearing before our podcast, right?
Totally different person.
But again, like it's a different look. We think about it totally differently,
So I think, I don't expect I don't expect everyone to go to the depth that we do here, or, I'm always I'm on a one-woman crusade to get people to just be invested in their optical and think a little bit. And I'm glad to have inspired you a couple months ago to think about it too.
Yeah. Well, I think, obviously you and I have talked about maybe a little bit about some of our disagreements, or we've sort of had battles, maybe I'll call them battles lovingly, back and forth on Adam's podcast related to some of the things we disagree about. But certainly you've inspired me to take our optical, to kind of rethink our optical again. So my parents, my dad is an optometrist. He's retired. My mom was like a master optician, like, and a wizard with the stuff that you're talking about. And we've sort of departed a little bit, not dramatically, but a little bit. And so I want to sort of re-envision that in our new space. And I've got probably 9 to 10 months to sort of do it. And so, I would say that that's inspiring to me about the things that we're talking about. And so thanks for that. It's pretty cool actually to listen to you. It's pretty cool to hear you say. So I want to dig into a couple other topics. Then I want to ask you about Independent Strong. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about was you made a comment on, what your best sellers are. How often do you track things like turn rates and things like what types of products you're going to have in the office? How often do you do that?
Every day. I know what we've sold every day, and I reorder every week. So I think one of the other things that happens.
You do it? You do that?
I do mostly, yes. So I pay my bills, and I want to know exactly what was ordered. So I do that. I know I usually meet with my optician every Friday. If we haven't caught up during the week, which we usually do, but I know exactly, like I know what frames we sold this morning. I've already added them to carts if I want to reorder them. So what I've done here, which is different than I've ever done before, is the frequent reordering of our best sellers. And I often buy 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah, you want them in the office.
You want them in, if they're going to sell. We had an issue where we ordered our bestseller. I usually was buying 2, and somehow our rep ordered 3 for me. And I was like, she said, I'll send you an RA. I'm like, oh my gosh. If it was any other frame, I would have sent it back. But I said, all right. So I said to my optician, here's your challenge. I want them all gone by the end of the week. Can you do it? And she did it. She loved the challenge of selling them. I mean, it's a great frame and we sell it a lot, but I'm watching that all the time, and I'm always tracking what we're selling and what we're not selling. I'm often I'd say I'm a little too quick sometimes to make judgments on what's not selling. My team is like, give it like some time. So I'm like, oh, you didn't sell, you're out. But we've been really fine-tuning. We've spent a lot of time fine-tuning what's selling and tracking. I use Frame Turn by Spexy to look at turn rate and the turn rate for the different types of frames we have. So our buffalo horn frames range from 1,800 to 2,100. I am not expecting the same turn rate on those. That would be lovely, but I don't expect the same turn rate on those that I would on, a Tom Ford or a Garrett Light. So for me, it's looking at the appropriate turn rate for the frames and knowing, if they're selling at the level they should be. We're always watching pricing, we're typically raising our pricing pretty often. If they're selling that quickly, then we're raising them and finding that sweet spot of when they slow down, and then we know we found the right price. So I'm truly watching it a lot. Again, with 4 to 7 patients a day, I know how many frames we're selling. So it's a little easier for me, but it's really been working well. We reorder so often, and I think that was not the way I've always been. And I think so many practices get in the mode of waiting for the rep to come in and then filling in the frame board, and then A, missing out on selling their best sellers right away, and B, we have these huge bills and then these huge returns, and there's just all this accounting nightmare for us, it's been easier just to keep track and reorder. Sometimes I reorder twice a week. Like I placed 2 Garrett Light orders this week. So, which hopefully not a third this week, but 2 so far. So.
Yeah. Okay. Then there's a couple things that you said at the beginning as far as your goals. So you'd be happy with 10 patients a day, but you'd be satisfied with 7. And then you're trying to maximize your per patient revenue. When you consider your per patient revenue, I'm assuming that means revenue per refraction. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then I mean, if you don't mind sharing your numbers, go ahead. If you do, that's okay too. But like, is there a percentage more that you want to get to? If you're don't want to share specific dollars, but is there like a percentage more of where you are now versus where you want to be? And then if you're at that point, how do you know, okay, what's the next level? Like is in your mind, is there a maximum that you could achieve? And then once you hit that at 7, does that then mean you go to 10? And if you're at 10 and you've hit your maximum and you're at 10, are you happy in perpetuity, or does it have to go up because businesses have to grow?
So I will say we're about 3 times the national average on per patient revenue. So typically, based on the numbers I've seen, I would like to see how high we can go and how high. I don't know what the ceiling is, and I don't know. I will say this is very more than I could have ever imagined. And every month I'm like, oh, is this the month that like our numbers fall and that, my metrics change? And 10 months in, it's easier to have that when you have a lower patient count. And then as we've been getting busy, I was like, oh, is that going to change that? But we've been very consistent. So it's been great to see that. And I think as we change our business model, I just hope to go up to a manageable point and I don't want to keep adding staff and doctors to create a machine. I would rather have less patients and still be able to take care of those. So I think my goal would be to maximize the day and then just hire more opticians to help with that flow versus more techs and more doctors. Eventually I do want another doctor because I'm here most of the time now and I love it. That's one of my goals, is not to be here all the time. Right now, I really enjoy it. I've never seen patients 5 days a week in my life, so this is the first time, but with the patient count, it's quite manageable and I still have time to do things like this. So I think my goal is just to keep doing what I'm doing. If we stayed like this forever, I'd be very happy. It's a really nice way to practice. I look forward to coming in. I don't feel stressed. My team, we do need another optician. That's the optical does get very busy with walk-ins. So that will take a burden off my team, having one more staff. But I would love to push the envelope of how high we can go for our per patient revenue without increasing the patient count. And my goal for 2025 already is I've been looking at our price points, and Frame Turn does a great job of breaking that up into, what you're selling in each price point. And there's some glaring opportunities in areas where we don't have any frames in that price point. So my goals for 2025 are to fill those in, move the other frames up in price point, and then add some higher price points as well to keep pushing that up. But you can't. That being said, it's very easy to say, well, I'm just going to add a very expensive frame line, but that comes with a lot of training. So we're ready for that, and we're going to expand what we do have because that's working well and we know the stories. So to anyone who thinks, oh, you just throw in, a high-end frame line, it takes some work, and yes. Yeah. But I would encourage people to add something uncomfortably high, because anything after that now looks like a great value. So we show everybody our buffalo horn first. Every single patient, whether they have managed care, a vision plan, whether we think they're actually going to buy that buffalo horn, that's where we start. And sometimes that's where we end, and oftentimes it's not. But that helps us set the tone of, instead of starting with the lowest price and then going up, going down is much easier. And people, we have a lot of people who have said, not yet, can you put that, this is my first pair of glasses, and they do come back. And we've had a number of people who have fallen in love with the buffalo horn, said, not right now. Let me do my first pair, but it stays in their mind, and they come back for that second pair. So that's really my goal, is to start moving towards more of that high-end bespoke feel and because I wasn't sure how that would go. You're still, no matter how much I love it, there's still kind of that worry, is that what people are going to respond to with all the competition we have? And it is sustainable here, and it's been very well received.
Well, the other question, and maybe I have to come back, we'll have to do a year 2 recap too, because do you have a plan for when these patients come back that now they're in for their second exam with you, and they have just purchased a very nice or multiple very nice glasses that are very good quality, so they're probably not crazed and scratched, and they take care of them like any other piece. Have you considered how to address that when the patient comes back in? What are your I mean, I know that's kind of already your culture is like, hey, you can always add, like once, for me, maybe I'm answering my own question, but for me, like if I go to the men's clothing store, I don't have to get all new stuff every year. It's like, hey, I can just pick out a few new pieces here and there that just sort of match within the rest of the wardrobe I have. And then you just sort of retire. But are you intentional about that? And what can we who don't think like you do gain or change the way we think about those patients they're coming back for their glaucoma evaluation and a comprehensive exam, right? I saw them maybe 6 months ago or 4 months ago, and they got a nice pair of glasses last year, and their prescription hasn't changed.
Right.
How do we communicate with those people?
I think what we do first is we will show them multiple pairs and say, this might be not now. This is, I know that you're not going to do all of these. And we put all that information into the computer. We even take measurements on every pair that they've picked out. And then we'll remind them when they pick them up. I know you got your buffalo horn, your custom beautiful piece, but remember that Maui Jim sunglass. Christmas is coming up, so I've got it set aside. And so we have it all written when they come in to dispense. That's all in the notes. So we take careful notes about all of the frames that they've liked, so that A, if they do come back, we can quickly order it, but B, anyone can remind them. So, and we work very hard to say, yes, this might be what you do today. And, I've had a number of first-time progressive wearers, and just this morning that happened, first-time progressive wearer. And we, showed her sunglasses as well. And she's like, well, I'm not quite there. We're like, absolutely. You know what? Let's think about it next year when you've really been wearing your progressives and you notice that you now want to wear them more and you want some sunglasses. So we try and plant the seed early that maybe it's not today and maybe it's in 6 months. And maybe we leave a note in the computer in 6 months to say, how are you doing? I know now it's 6 months from now. We're starting to get into the spring. Just want to check in on your glasses, and if you're interested in sunglasses, we've got those here. So we even we use Weave, so we set all these pre-selected texts. So we type those out when they're here and set not a reminder to us, but we pre-write the text to say, hey, it's Jess from Look. Just want to see how you're doing with those sunglasses. I got a new pair of glasses in that I thought you would like. So we will I don't remember anything. My optician remembers every person. It's a skill. It is not one I have. She's good about when a frame comes in, she'll remember a person that she thinks will like it. I could never do that. So my office manager and I will write out texts, and we just pre-save them, and then it goes right out on that day. So that's a way to do it. And I don't expect, we have people that will get multiple pairs, but then we have some people who are like, I'll just do this for now. But we just set the tone to say, we're here when you want. And I think you just can't plan that they're not going to do it. A lot of people, and myself included, would get so defeated. You pick out a few pairs and they're like, I'll just do one. And it's like, you just feel this sense of like, I spent all this time.
I'm usually just happy with one.
Yes,
I'm happy that they did one.
I have to reset my expectations sometimes. Sometimes I'm like,
that's good. Yeah.
Yes, it's good and bad.
It's about beliefs, and I just, it's about beliefs, and I, like, when I look at your belief system around glasses, there's no reason that we all shouldn't have the same belief system. We've just abdicated that belief system to someplace else. And it's just like, I've got a very strong belief system about what my value is to my community.
Right.
And I just need to really think about how that applies with glasses. Right. That's the only difference.
It. I think I truly enjoy it. It's not, some people, it's like, the thought of doing all that is like, I'd rather do anything else. For me, it's enjoyable and it shows. I don't mind I enjoy being out there and I enjoy showing off what we've done, and patients have responded. I don't expect that everyone will have that love, but I think, what we also do, and I will not take credit for this. This was not my training. My optician is really good about a Monday through Friday pair and a weekend pair. She uses that phrase a lot to get people to think about, again, maybe multiple pairs for their looks, and to say you can go a little funky on your weekend pair, and then you've got your classic Monday through Friday pair. And people resonate. If you say, well, you've got, if we use terms that they understand, and you make it fun, I listen. And sometimes I joke, I'm like, man, these people don't know what hit them. She's so good at it. And I'm like watching them. I'm like, oh, they have no idea that she's doing this and making it this fun experience. And I will say, I've had many opticians over the years, and a lot of it comes down to personality and really enjoying selling glasses. And I think sometimes we have people on our teams that it's a chore and it's a job to, I have to get up again, and they're not going to buy, and, they're just a pain, and they, I've done, it's your turn, hiring the right person who looks at it as an exciting task is so important. And I've learned that with Jess. She truly loves what she does and really loves styling people and gets very excited to do that. And I've had team members in the past that like, oh, it's time, Chris needs a new pair of glasses, and they're like, oh, he's not going to buy this year, I don't even want to waste my time. And so I think a lot of it is personality driven, but a true, she's very extroverted and is really loves beautiful eyewear too. So, but I think, being okay that they're not going to do everything today, but giving them the options, and not just showing one pair. And we pre-select, so I think I mentioned this last time, but we pre-select frames while the patient's in the exam room. So as soon as they come in, when they come out, we've pre-selected and curated a selection for them. And that always includes sunglasses. Does that mean every patient buys sunglasses? Absolutely not. But we're putting that thought in their head that, oh, I never even thought I needed prescription sunglasses, or I never even considered that, there's a difference in sunglass lenses. So we go through the motions and make it feel like everybody's buying this at the same time, and go through the education, because that will help down the road. Maybe it's next year. They're like, oh, you know what? I remember you mentioned sunglasses. These are fine. So this year I want to do sunglasses. So putting all those, go through all your treatment plans and go through all the different eyewear they need at every visit. If they do it all, awesome. Celebrate that and be very excited. If they don't feel like it's a failure, but you're planting that seed and making your job down the line easier.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I was going to ask you about Independent Strong, but I got to be respectful of your time too. So tell me a little bit about Independent Strong, and what's your goals or purposes for that?
Thank you for asking. So Independent Strong is a Jobson publication aimed at independents, so not just independent optometrists, but also opticians and independent practices. I'm the professional editor. I'm entering my third year. I think next year will be my third year. Time flies. And I love putting together articles about topics for independence and really understanding different ways that we can be independent. We feature a lot of practices who have become more independent. Maybe that's by dropping insurance, or people who have cold started after being in corporate, and really just giving the independent practices a voice and some ways to be better business people. We are hard at work on our 2025 agenda, which is crazy. I work like 3 or 4 months out, so we're already working on February and March of 2025. So it's an online only publication. It doesn't come in paper, but it's really I think we put together a lot of great content on all different topics. It's not just optical, so has nothing to do just with optical. In 2024, and we'll extend a little bit into 2025, I did a series on cold starting, kind of from the why and the how through my process, and we'll finish up probably in January or February, although it never finishes. So I'm trying to figure out, when do I stop? We were talking about that, because I could keep going. Every month there's a new topic, so we'll probably wrap up that, and it's become kind of a series in cold starting. But it's a great publication. Please check it out. And if anyone ever has any content they'd like, or ideas for things that have not been covered, feel free to contact me. I'm always looking for ideas and making sure that we're covering all the topics that independents face.
Jennifer Stewart, thanks so much for doing this again. It was great. And I will follow up next year because I think it'd be fun to hear how year 2 goes.
Thank you. We'll do a video tour. We'll make sure there's no patients in here, and I'll take everyone on a tour around, and maybe we'll watch Jess in action. Maybe she could virtually sell you a pair of glasses.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks
as always. It's been a real great pleasure, and I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and our YouTube channel, both linked in the show notes. Now, here's something exciting. We're giving away a 1-year subscription to Comprehensive Optometry Simplified. All you have to do is leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, take a screenshot, and email it to me at questions@icodeeducation.com. We'll put that in the show notes as well. We'll be selecting a winner on December 15th, so don't miss your chance to get access to this valuable resource. Thanks again for listening. I can't wait to see your reviews.